So let me just jump into the first segment of our broadcast here today, and we're going to break it up into three pieces. Number one, we're going to talk a little bit about terminology, and then number two, we're going to be talking about business cases, and then we're going to dig a little bit deeper into some business cases. Let me tell you why we talk about terminology is because what I find is that until we understand our own terminology and what we're talking about, it's difficult for us to completely evaluate solutions and really understand what it is that we're looking at and why we should be considering implementing it or not considering implementing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about terminology, and by way of putting a little slide up here, I'm going to do that so that we can have a conversation about some of these things on this slide. So Gabe, on Monday we started out by talking about blockchain and what it means if something is decentralized or a distributed ledger. Could you maybe kick off our conversation by, just giving a few words on, what is something if it's decentralized, and what does it mean if something's a digital ledger?
Yeah, so when it comes to a decentralized blockchain network, no one has to know each other, so it's trustless. So the big part is that it's trustless, and each member has a copy of the exact same data. So across the network, everybody's got the exact same data, and if anything is altered, or if there's any sort of altercation in one of the members, so in somebody's network, then we can know right away it'll be rejected because everybody else has the exact same copy, right? So that's just the simple explanation of the decentralized blockchain network. But LV, is there anything else you want to add on that?
Well, yes. I mean, of course, apart from the immutability, also, you have the ability to, create a governance mechanism in terms of who can publish the data, who can consume the data, who can override some of the data. Right? When I say override means, add an additional record and then, correct certain records. So that also is part of, the decentralization process.
Yeah.
So, Gabe, I think next we were going to talk about some of the differences between a few of the different types of, blockchains. I think you might have had a question that you were going to throw out there.
Right. So we've got a private, public, and consortium. Can you just expand on that a little bit? Just because even sometimes I'm a little bit confused, and it helps when we've got somebody else's opinion.
Great. So I'll start with the private blockchains. Right? So private blockchains essentially are created by group of companies coming together, and then for their defined set of business processes, and then for their set of defined information exchanges, or the value exchange that they want to do across their ecosystem participation. So that is where we see the private blockchains, where there is always one organization saying that this is my network, and that I have the governance over this. Consortiums is where you see the consortiums like Mobi, and then a few others that are out there, which are in terms of beta, right? Blockchain in Travel Alliance. So these are the consortiums wherein the entire industry in a specific vertical or a specific business process comes together and say that let us create a network among ourselves, to be able to interact among ourselves and also with our business partners. And then there comes a set of standards, there comes a set of guidelines, there comes a set of governance in terms of whom can we add to our network, who should be participating in network, how do we govern this entire network. That's what is what we call it as consortium chains. Public chains, we all know, most of the public chains today are related to value exchange, not much about the information exchange. Probably it might change with the NFTs gaining a lot more popularity. But at this point of time, public chains are like, your Bitcoin network, Ethereum network, and then, most of the other networks that you see today, they're all public chains, which are predominantly for value exchange.
So LV, I think this is a really important point that I want to expand on. I want to make sure that I understand this because, Gabe, I agree with you. Sometimes these things are a bit confusing, okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to key in on a couple of things you just said, LV. You said that public blockchains are many times for value exchange. And so we might consider like value exchange, like the exchange of cryptocurrencies or exchange of Bitcoin or Ethereum or things like that, right? So public blockchains potentially, primarily for value exchange. I got it, okay. Private blockchains, you might find private blockchains being something where you have to join that blockchain in order to be able to exchange information like records or other elements that you're going to provide access to a closed group of individuals. Is that an accurate assessment?
That is right. Closed group of individuals or organizations.
Okay. And then when we go to consortium, right away, now I didn't completely understand this, not that long ago, but right away what comes to mind is we have consortiums in the industry like CETA and IATA and Aero Exchange and things like that. And basically they create, shared networks, some of the big manufacturers, they do it as well. But right away that kind of comes to mind is that the similar kind of concept where we would have, industry consortium, I can't use the word consortium in the description, but industry assembly of people and information to be able to share that information. Is that an accurate assessment?
That's an accurate assessment, but wherein in probably the way the current consortiums are managed is that they will have the general body meetings, they will have a lot of governance structures created, a lot of people attend and then vote and then gets recorded. But here in the consortiums on blockchain, all of that becomes as part of your blockchain interactions. It's part of the DOA, delegation authority, basically.
Got it. Okay, very good.